modern life overflows with entertainment. It's not just travel and sports, there are tons of things you can enjoy without leaving home, like videos, games, and social media. Technological advancements, especially internet-based ones, keep creating new hobbies and entertainment. But if videos, games, and social media didn't exist, what would you do on your day off? What did people find exciting and enjoyable for leisure in the era before all the entertainment we casually enjoy today was available? Were they too busy just surviving to have fun? Or were there hobbies and entertainment we can't even imagine? Exploring the hobbies and entertainment of people from the past reveals fascinating facts, from unbelievable, horrifying trends to the origins of hobbies loved for centuries. So, let's embark on a journey to explore the history of people's hobbies and entertainment. Watching movies is a popular hobby even today. Horror movies, in particular, remain incredibly popular. It seems humans have a desire to enjoy fear. And this was true even before movies existed. People then also sought out frightening experiences. So, how did people in the past enjoy fear? The scene is 19th century Victorian England. Wealthy and influential people were competing to buy something. That something? Mummies. So what were they doing with all these mummies? Were they just collecting them? No. The mummies were a spectacle for customers. Mummies weren't just put on display, they were actually disassembled in front of invited guests. Back then, important figures in high society were invited to parties where they could watch mummy dissections. The mummy would be placed in the middle of the living room, gradually unwrapped before the audience, who would watch intently. The person hosting these parties seemed obsessed with putting on exciting shows to entertain their guests. Sometimes, they even presented the dusty skeletons as if they were sexy female dancers. Incidentally, one famous practitioner of this show was Thomas Pettigrew, a renowned surgeon. If a surgeon today were to dissect a corpse as a spectacle, it would be huge news. However, even back then, these mummy dissection shows drew criticism, and their popularity eventually faded. Surprisingly, it wasn't just mummies and ancient, desiccated corpses that were used for entertainment. In 19th century Paris, even recently deceased bodies were put on display for amusement. In 1886, a girl died in a strange way. She got sick from a small bruise she'd gotten, and it killed her. This shocked people then, because a seemingly minor injury led to such a terrible outcome. As a result, unbelievably, crowds flocked to the morgue to see her body. Of course, some people came to mourn, but many were driven by morbid curiosity, and the scene was reportedly frenzied. People visited daily, turning the morgue into a tourist attraction. A place meant for grieving families became a wildly popular entertainment spot for those seeking unusual thrills. Eventually, not just the girl, but multiple bodies were displayed in the morgue windows for all to see, almost like a museum. Unthinkable today, right? Naturally, like the unwrapping of mummies, this fad eventually died out. And it wasn't just corpses treated as entertainment, even mass murder scenes were considered entertainment. The mass murder scene? A battlefield. During the American Civil War, at the First Battle of Bull Run, incredibly, many people picnicked near the fighting. Enjoying basket lunches while friends and acquaintances exchanged cannon fire and risked their lives, did they mistake it for a sporting event or a field day? Of course, once the battle started, the picnickers were quickly brought back to reality. Roads were jammed with people fleeing the battlefield in a panicked stampede of broken-down carriages. Today, we treat death and war as entertainment in the virtual world, but there was a time when real death was treated as entertainment. Historically, there were hobbies and entertainments that are unimaginable today. On the other hand, a hobby enjoyed by many, both then and now, is sports. What was it like when sports first became popular entertainment? It was the 12th century. Football, the ancestor of modern soccer and rugby, was born. However, football back then was less a sport and more a brawl. You'll understand why if you know the rules of football at that time. First, two teams compete, using a ball to try and score a goal. That's the same as today. The difference? You needed 3 goals to score 1 point. You might think, oh, is that all? But the real kicker comes next. There was only one other rule: don't kill anyone. That's it. Yeah, suddenly it's terrifying. It's easy to imagine such a lawless game leading to brawls. Naturally, there were countless injuries. It was less a sport and more a terrifying game of life or death. Surprisingly, over 900 years later, this ancestor of brawl-style football is apparently still popular, with a two-day match held annually in England. This kind of dangerous entertainment isn't limited to football. In the town of Ottery, St. Mary, England, there's a tradition of carrying barrels through the streets. But these aren't just any barrels, they're filled with tar. And, get this, the tar is set on fire, so the barrels are blazing. Why would anyone enjoy something so dangerous? The tradition stems from the gunpowder plot of 1605. 36 barrels of gunpowder were prepared by those who plotted to blow up Parliament. To commemorate this event, the tradition of carrying flaming barrels continues annually. Participants carry a burning barrel on their back, and when the heat becomes unbearable, they pass it to the next participant, progressing through the streets in a relay race. Personally, I wouldn't participate. In the Cotswolds town of England, a sporting event, arguably a precursor to the Olympics, has been held since 1612. This festival continues even now, over 400 years later, with thousands of participants each year in a hugely popular competition. It must be quite a fascinating and funny event. That event is shin kicking. As the name suggests, it's a competition where people kick each other's shins. It sounds like a children's fight, doesn't it? However, nowadays, it seems they don't actually kick shins. Instead, it's a competition where they try to trip each other up. And actually, this shin kicking has evolved over time into modern wrestling. Furthermore, there's even a person in England called the father of shin kicking, so it seems this isn't just a children's fight, it's a historically significant sport. The barrel rolling and shin kicking we've introduced so far, among other strange competitions and events, are somewhat amusing. But there was also unbelievably awful entertainment, completely unfunny, especially to Japanese people. It was called the nuclear bomb tour. In 1951, the US conducted atomic bomb tests in the Nevada desert, sparking a boom in what became known as the nuclear bomb tour. In Las Vegas, the epicenter of this, atomic bombs were treated like cute characters or something. For example, postcards and calendars featuring mushroom clouds were sold, and collectors snapped them up. Showgirls in mushroom cloud costumes performed in strip clubs, and bars served atomic bomb-themed cocktails. And it wasn't just that, there were even places where you could actually watch the explosions live. This nuclear bomb tour had many fans and was a big part of 1950s Las Vegas. Participants enjoyed this novel entertainment, probably without a thought to the radioactive material they were inhaling. It was a truly terrifying spectacle. Okay, next up, let's look at 3 hobbies that are still incredibly popular today: collecting figurines, taking Instagrammable photos, and keeping cute pets. These modern hobbies actually have some pretty weird histories. First, figurine collecting. During the Victorian era in 19th century Britain, following the Industrial Revolution, collecting figurines became hugely popular among the burgeoning middle class. By the way, these weren't the plastic figurines we imagine today. They were made of pottery. And the really popular ones came from Staffordshire, colourful pottery figurines. Staffordshire pottery figurines are still sold today, mostly cute animals and beautiful women. But the Victorian craze was a little different. For example, mermaids and pirates, those might still be popular today, but there were also some unusual ones, like the jealous wife. And the figurines that were especially popular with collectors? Figurines of real-life, notorious murderers. Criminals famous for their gruesome murders and horrific crimes were made into figurines and sold like hotcakes. Apparently, Victorian England had a huge thing for creepy, scary stuff. Even today, figurines aren't always cute and cuddly, but figurines of actual criminals. I doubt those would sell very well now. Besides figures, another thing popular even today is Instagrammable photos, often seen in social media posts, isn't it? As I mentioned earlier, Victorian England saw a craze for criminal figures. It seems that creepy photos were also popular in that era. It's the headless photo. I thought it was a smiling commemorative photo, but something seems off. At that time, the photo being taken was a groundbreaking photograph invented in 1856 by photographer Oscar Gustav Rieglander, commonly known as the headless photograph. A photo of a person standing stiffly, seemingly cleaning. That alone would be a normal photo, but this person has no head above the neck. And that head? It's cradled in their own arm. Such eerie photos were actually popular. This photo was innovative for its time in the 19th century and required advanced techniques. To briefly explain the technique, while many photos today are digital data, photos back then were taken using negative film. They manipulated these negatives by cutting and pasting them. Just as amazing composite images and AI-generated photos amaze us today, the headless photograph was cutting-edge technology in the 19th century, bringing astonishment to its viewers. And third, speaking of things loved by many even today, there are cute pets like dogs and cats, right? Their cuteness seems unchanged from the past to the present. For example, many animals were loved in ancient Egypt. Among them, the most popular were felines. But these weren't just ordinary cats. The Egyptian royals kept ferocious beasts like lions and cheetahs. Of course, back then, there was no such concept as protecting wild animals, so anyone could keep ferocious beasts as pets. And in that era, the animal particularly loved in Egypt was the cheetah. Cheetahs could be used to hunt not only mice and snakes, but also large animals, and were trained and kept at home. The Egyptians' love for cheetahs ran deep, and they were often buried next to their owners. It seems the deep love for pets hasn't changed from then to now. Okay, so far we've looked at a lot of entertainment that involved thrills and chills. But alongside those trends, another essential element of entertainment is laughter. What made people laugh throughout history? Let me introduce you to a laughing event that originated in England in 1267. Born to celebrate the start of apple harvest season, it's called gurning. In a nutshell, it's a funny face contest. A contest of one-shot gags with weird faces. Gurning participants simply put their faces through a horse collar and contort their faces to make the audience laugh. Compared to things like mummy unwrapping or riotous football, it's a pretty peaceful sight. This contest is still held annually in England, with participants from all over the world gathering in small towns to compete in funny faces. Having lasted from 1267 to 2023, it's been loved for over 750 years. It seems laughter is essential to life, doesn't it? And while humanity has enjoyed these forms of entertainment for a very long time, humans do get bored, right? For example, a very popular pastime among the European nobility during the Middle Ages was Buggio Yarigaya mounted lance combat. This is a game where people on horseback face each other and try to knock each other down using lances. Mounted lance combat originally started as soldier training, but because winning the match allowed you to show off your strength, it quickly spread among the nobility and became popular. Of course, it was fine as it was at first, but no matter how interesting it is, you get bored after doing it a lot. So, probably at a drinking party among the nobles, someone must have said, "Wouldn't it be funny in water?" And thus, water-mounted lance combat was born. The rules are simple. It's mounted lance combat done on boats. Instead of horses, you ride boats and charge towards the opposing team's boat. During this, players with lances knock their opponents into the water. This competition is still held today. It's basically a water jousting game, and the matches held on rivers in French towns have even been watched by Queen Elizabeth. I bet some people would like to see it or even try it. Hobbies and entertainment are important elements that enrich life. Looking back at their history, there have been some unbelievable trends that are unimaginable today, as well as sports and events that are still enjoyed today. Thinking about how current hobbies will change in the future makes us realize that we too are living in history. The history of the world is still shrouded in mystery. Let's continue our journey to explore the mysteries of the world together. See you on our next journey. Thank you for watching.